He would love to be able to sit up here, stand here. He'd love to take the stand, but he can't. He said he would just lose it.
Emotional scenes playing out in court today. We're joined in studio by Judge Greenland. Judge, welcome back to Channel 199.
Good evening.
When Judge Masipa handed down her verdict of Oscar Pistorius, she put a lot of emphasis on the remorse that Oscar showed after the incident. Do you think the pain and the suffering of the family will also be taken into account?
I think first we must understand that she wasn't so much talking about remorse in relation to anything other than it being consistent with innocence on his part. So it had to do with the merits of the conviction.
Correct.
She's going to have to reconsider that now as regards sentence. And sentence is a huge balancing act. And as I've said, it's where a judge proves whether he or she is actually a judge. That's the most difficult duty a judge has to discharge. And there is this balancing act at the heart of it between the interests of the accused and the interests of the general public, starting with the victim's family. And you know, as regards this video clip that you just saw, Katie, I mean, I was traumatized by it this afternoon. And the reason is because Pam and I suffered the loss of 2 children. So I thought the evidence, Kim Martin's evidence, was very, very, very good. Because to a judicial officer, to the judge, it then focuses you on the fundamental issue that you are dealing with human beings and that justice needs to be done as between these human beings. As I've said before, if you look at that picture of Lady Justice there, in the one scale you've got Oscar, in the other scale you've got Riva and the general public. Those scales must stay in balance, and this is what helps to keep those scales in balance.
Certainly a very moving day from court today. But take us, Judge, into the mind of a judge. What factors do you consider? I know you've just mentioned the testimony of the family when making a decision on sentence. Is there anything else that's imperative to take into account?
You know, I've said that, you know, a good judge is firstly a very good human being. It doesn't mean that because you're a brilliant legal scholar that you're going to be a good judge. What you need to be is a very good human being that has got these precious qualities of understanding and wisdom. You've got to have those first. That'll give you the humility to see things for what they actually are, to have an understanding of things for what they actually are, and not to impose your own, shall we say, prejudices on the situation. And that'll give you the patience to listen, not only with your ears, but to listen to the whole environment, the noises that an environment is making. And in that way, you might just come out with a decision that satisfies that fundamental test of justice being done and seen to be done.
You talk about listening and listening very clearly. Is it also a matter of watching? June and Barry Steenkamp have made the decision they were not going to give evidence in mitigation of sentence. We heard Kim today talk about the fact that Barry just wouldn't be able to cope. He would break down. He would lose it, as she said. Do you think she's watching these parents?
She should be. And I would imagine, suppose, that she is. I think most good judges do that. And especially at that time of the evidence, when this witness was giving this telling evidence, I, as a judge, would have been inclined to just have a look at Riva's family to see their reaction.
Judge, let's talk about Annette Verheer. Let's go back a little bit. She spoke about the South African prison system. Do you think she's taken into account the severity of what has happened here and the negligence factor?
I think you put your finger right on it. I think she came across as a very sincere person, but I think professionally naive, with all due respect to her. I think she made 2 fatal errors in her evidence, and you've just touched on the one. In in recommending correctional supervision, she completely discounted or ignored or was unmindful of the degree of negligence. And Greenland was very good at putting a right on that. I should tell you that where a person is convicted of culpable homicide involving a high degree of negligence, it would be very unusual for a court not to impose a custodial sentence, especially if you've got the added feature of the killing having been done in the irresponsible use of a firearm. And you have the further added feature that the victim is a woman. This makes it a very, very serious offense. And the starting point is a custodial sentence. And Greenland was able to show that she had discounted this completely. So that was the first fatal error she made. There's another one, and perhaps we can talk about it.
Yes, what's the second one?
The second one is that she's of the view that because prison is so unsavory, so unpleasant, you should discount it. And by extension, she discounts punishment as a feature of sentencing. Of the 5 features that you have: deterrence, rehabilitation, retribution. She seems to be saying that punishment does no good. Now, you know, Katy, we all know this. Internationally, jurists, criminologists, we all know that punishment on its own, in itself, doesn't do very much. And prisons are very bad places. However, we stuck with it. If you don't have punishment, then what are you going to have as regards serious offenders?
I also worry, Judge, about what message we're sending to society. If we're saying there aren't consequences for actions, then what?
Exactly. And I was going to say that punishment is deeply ingrained in our psyche as human beings, as a species, Homo sapiens. That is why so many of us are still married to the notion of eye for an eye. That is why most of the world cheered when Osama bin Laden was, in effect, murdered. Extrajudicial killing, no trial, no evidence, no nothing.
Or when Muammar Gaddafi was dragged through the streets, bleeding.
Exactly. So we've refined it, we now call it, we don't call it eye for an eye anymore, we call it retribution. It's just a nice name for the same thing. We need to reach a stage when the case is completed and the accused is sentenced where we feel a sense of solemn exaltation that justice has been done, that the accused has been made to pay.
That this lady behind you, Lady Justice, has done her job.
Yes, you see the sword is up. We need to feel that she has brought that sword down, even though the competitors in the scale stay the same. If she doesn't bring this, if she does not bring that sword down on the accused, then what happens is that the scales go out of balance. We feel, and rightly so, we feel offended, we feel that justice has not been done, we suspect all kinds of things, favoritism, you name it, we lose faith in the courts, the administration of justice falls into disrepute, and by extension we start developing a deviant mentality, and that then feeds into crime and even vigilantism. So it's very important that when the sentence is passed, when the trial is finished, we all have a sense of solemn exaltation that justice has been done and seen to be done. If we don't have that, there's a failure of justice.
Justice needs to be seen to be done. Thank you, Judge Chris Greenland. As always, your comments very profound. I particularly like what you said, and it made an impression on me around Annette Verheer. Sincere, but possibly professionally naive. We'll leave that to the critics to decide, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
After the break, I'm joined by tonight's 199 Editors panel with David Smith from The Guardian.